Okay guys, if you haven't figured it out by now, I'm not here today. And I like to do this so that you guys are still on task and you can get some information done. And then I can revisit this when I come back. And I will be back the next class hour, so don't you worry. But what we're going to do today is go over the outline format that you're going to use for the rest of this class. So hopefully you have a piece of paper out. And I'm going to show you some things, and then it's very important you stick to exactly what I'm saying and write down the areas that I'm saying. At the end of this, you will have an assignment where you are going to have to read a speech, and you'll have to piece it together based on your notes. So it's really important that you get every piece today, okay? And then you will end up turning your assignment in by the end of class. Okay, and then also in this unit, what you'll do is you will do an article summary speech, meaning that you're going to have to find an article and you're going to have to cite it correctly and then write in this outline format that you're learning. So you'll hear me reference that stuff a lot today just to get you used to it, but I will always, within every speech, walk you through the outline format. But it'll be important today that you do actually take the notes and get a good firm grasp of this. Okay, so the purpose of this unit is to get you familiar with the outline format and then also to do this speech, the news article speech. Some differences you're going to see from the outline format that you're going to write down today versus the news article speech that you will actually do is first the big difference is going to be your first speech in this format is only going to have two main points, whereas the one you're going to write down here in a little bit is going to have three main points. I start you out small. We've talked about that from the beginning. In this speech, you will also practice the movement. So we're just going to stick to two main points. But anytime you write outlines, just like in your English classes, you guys, you have three main points, three main paragraphs, and then an introduction and a conclusion. And that's what this is. It's the 5-paragraph essay. It's just a little bit more tailored to speech. Okay, so I'm going to show you on the next slide, I'm going to show you the basic outline. I don't want you to write anything down, so don't write anything down. I'm just showing it to you so you can see the big picture of everything that you're going to be writing down today. Okay, so here it is. Okay, that might be kind of hard for you to read, but the part that I want you to pay attention to is the indentation. Okay, you're going to see my hand here. I don't know how effective this is going to be, but if you see right in here, all the big A's and B's and C's and D's and A's and B's and everything is all lined up. All the Roman numerals out here are all lined up. All right, so today when you write Roman numeral 1, when I say indent, you're going to want to make sure that you push in those letters, and then you'll write all that information in there. So that's important. It distinguishes the introduction from the body, and then each main point. So the spacing is really important, and it'll be a piece that you guys need to make sure that you have down when you write your outline format. So hopefully you have that, and then I'm going to walk through each piece. So the very first thing that you're going to do on your blank sheet of paper, anytime that we do this, is you're going to write the title. You're going to write that up in that big white margin, just like you guys did for the prompt speech. Okay, you title it, it needs to be centered. Okay, and so your title is going to change for each of your speeches. This very first one, if you want to title your speech news article speech, you would be able to. But you can be creative with that. You just don't want it any more than 3 to 5 words. Okay, then when you have that title, then you're going to skip 2 lines. You're separating that title from the introduction. And that's where you're going to write right next to that red line on your paper. You're going to write Roman numeral 1, introduction. Okay? You want to spell out the word introduction. You don't want to just write intro. We're into actually spelling out full words. Okay? And so you write that out next to that red line on your paper. And then when you indent, you're going to write a big A. Okay, and from now on, in the introduction, there's going to be 4 parts that you're going to learn. And A is the attention getter. Okay, this also in English you guys know as the hook. This is what you do to grab the audience's attention. and there's going to be multiple attention getters that you guys will learn, but a lot of times you're going to cite for these, and we will go in depth with that next class hour. But you want to make sure that you're not just writing some lame sentence that is going to bore us to death. This is also that sentence that you want to really have memorized. Okay? Next, the next piece is going to be B, the motivational link. And this is the part, I would say that kids struggle with this one. But in this one, it's just that connection with the audience. I call it a motivational link. Sometimes you'll just hear the connection sentence. But this is where you're motivating the audience to listen to you. You're telling them why your subject should matter in their lives. Why should they want to listen to you? And you give them a reason. And I'll teach you a way to write these that will make it easier for you guys. You just have to follow step-by-step directions with it, but we will also learn that next time. But today when you're doing your assignment, it's going to be important. Can you distinguish, what an attention getter is in an outline, and can you distinguish what the motivational link is, that connection with the audience? A sentence that's saying, you should listen to this speech because, but not, blatantly saying that. Okay? The next sentence is your purpose statement. This is where you're going to literally just say, the purpose of my speech today is to talk to you about, and then you fill in the blank. For this first speech, most of you will say that sentence. You don't have to say the sentence that way, though. I've told you from the beginning, I teach this class as you guys are novices. You're learning, step by step how to become better speakers. And, as a professional speaker, I don't think you should say a purpose statement. But for right now, to help you guys learn from each other and to have the basics down, this is what I want you to say. And then when you're comfortable changing it, please do. But right now, the purpose statement is just you telling the audience what's the whole idea of standing up there. And so you can write out, the purpose of my speech today is to talk to you about a news article. The purpose of my speech today is to talk to you about a song. The purpose of my speech today is to motivate you to not eat meat, or whatever if you have a persuasive speech, whatever your topic is. Okay, you're just specifically saying what the big idea is for you standing up there. And then next is your preview. This is where you're going to tell them, what are you going to talk to them? What will you tell the audience? And you're going to tell them 3 main points, except for the first speech. Okay, main point 1, main point 2, and main point 3. But you don't say it like that. You will title your main points. And so for this news article speech, you're going to tell them the news article summary and then your thoughts and opinions on the article. And so you would say, today I'm going to talk to you about a news article that I found, and then I'm going to tell you what I think about this news article. But you can be more creative than that. But once again, you guys are learning from each other. You're going to hear this multiple times. And the more you hear it, the easier it's going to be for you to memorize and just get a grasp on the whole introduction. Okay? So if you put the purpose and the preview together, you guys simply know this as a thesis statement. It's saying what's the big idea, and then what are you specifically going to talk about? So for this upcoming speech, it's going to sound like this. The purpose of my speech today is to talk to you about a news article. I will first summarize the news article for you, and then I will tell you my thoughts on the article. And it's as simple as that for the purpose and the preview. Very laid out. Okay? Next, what you're going to do is you are going to double space. If you need extra time right now, make sure to let the substitute know. She can put this on pause. He or she can put this on pause. But I do have a tendency to talk. So, and at the end of class too, if you need to go over this, you know that it's in the binder, and you guys can copy down any extra notes if you need to. But for now, you're going to double space, and that's separating the introduction from the body of the speech. So double space, and that's where you're going to write Roman numeral 2. You want to make sure that you have your Roman numeral 1 and your Roman numeral 2 lined up, okay? And then also, you guys, you'll move in between the introduction and your main point 1, but we will go over that later, but just heads up. Okay, and then you're going to have A, main point 1. And in this speech, you're going to call it news article summary. You're not writing a complete sentence there. You're just telling me what's the title of this main point. And that's what you're going to be doing in here. You're going to be summarizing a news article. So that's what you're going to title it. And then you're going to indent again. Okay, so make sure that you have this A lined up with your other A's. And then you indent, and this is where you're going to write your supporting details. And this is where you're going to tell me what the news article is about. And if it takes you 20 supporting details, then it takes 20 supporting details. But the thing you need to make sure to qualify as a main point, it has to have at least 2 supporting details. So make sure that you have that. Okay, but most times when you're retelling a news article, for this one, it's going to be at least 5. And I always push for you guys to do at least 5 supporting details to ensure that you make time and that you're putting enough information in there. Okay? And then this will be the big piece. We had briefly talked about them with the prompt speech, but making sure that there's clear separation between your main points. And for this, what you're going to do is you're going to write a transitional sentence. Okay? I always urge you guys to write move on there so that when you're practicing out in the hallway that you actually are moving. You're going to actually have to do this up there with the T-step, which I've talked about. But the transitional sentence, you can actually just write this. I have just told you main point 1, and now I will tell you main point 2. And then this is where you're going to move. Obviously, the main point 1 and main point 2 are in parentheses because you're going to actually fill those in with the titles. So for this actual speech that's coming up, you're going to say, I have just explained or just summarized the news article to you, and now I'm going to tell you my thoughts and opinions on this. And then I would walk and talk. Some of you won't have that down for a little bit, but you're going to move and you're going to transition into main point 2. Okay? Main point 2, you want to make sure that A and B are lined up. Okay, and notice that they're big A, capital A, and capital B's. Okay, and this is what where you'd put main point 2. And for this speech, it's going to be comments on the article or your thoughts and your opinions. What do you think about it? And that's clearly where you're going to put your supporting details. I think this about it, and I think this about it, and you can go into details, telling me what your thoughts are. Okay, and so this is where you need to make sure that when you're picking a news article that you actually do have some thoughts on it. Okay, because you need it to at least have 2 supporting details. But the key here, you guys, is if you have 5 up here, you want about 5 here. You want your main points to be about the same amount of time. Okay, so you have those down. You have a big A, a big B, main point 1, main point 2, and a transitional sentence where you're actually going to learn how to move or walk or switch to your second main point. Okay? I'm going to give you the third main point, which is going to look just like main point 1 and main point 2. I want you to have the whole outline. So when you do have another main point, before you can move to that third main point, you have to write a transitional sentence. Okay? I have just told you main point 2, and now I'm going to tell you main point 3. Like I've said over and over, you're not going to have a main point 3 for this speech, so you won't have to worry about this one, but in the future you will. Okay? For your song speech, you will have 3 main points. For your persuasive speech, you're going to have 3 main points, so you need to have this down. Okay? And then you would move, and then you end up having C, main point 3, whatever that is, you would title it just like the rest of them, and then you would have your supporting details. Okay, I'm waiting a few seconds to make sure that you have this information down. Okay, and then you're going to move again, and that's where you're going to move to your conclusion. Just like with the intro to the main point 1, you double space. Well, or from the title to the introduction, you double space. Well, from main point 3 to the conclusion, you're going to double space again. So skip 2 lines, And then you're going to write Roman numeral 3, conclusion. You will actually write that out. Okay? And then in the conclusion, for most of our speeches, we're only going to have 2 parts to it. Until the very final one, we'll add another piece to it, but I don't think you need to worry about that right now. So Roman numeral 3, conclusion. Roman numeral 1, 2, and 3 should all be lined up right against that red line on your paper. Okay? And it's okay if it's not perfect right there, but they should be lined up. Okay? And then A is going to be your review statement. Okay? Review statement means you're telling me just what you had talked about. I have just told you the article summary and my thoughts and opinions. It's basically taking the preview of the introduction. You're telling them what you're going to talk about. But instead, this is now past tense, meaning I have told you this. And what 2 things should you have told me in the news article speech? You should have told me the news article summary and your thoughts. So that's all you have to say. You don't go into great detail in this. If you remember from the Ashton Kutcher speech that we watched, he just said, remember this, this, and this. Okay, very simply, he laid it out and he said that, he used his fingers in gesturing. Okay, and that's all you're going to do. You're going to hear this multiple times from each other. You're going to learn this. But remember, you don't want to rush through this, and this piece is important. Okay, and then lastly is your final appeal. And that's the lasting impression. You need to make sure that it ties back into the attention getter, but you do not repeat the attention getter. It should sound similar, but not exactly the same. You don't get points for rewriting and re-saying a sentence that you've already written. Okay, so it's important to tie back, but not to be exact. Okay, you guys. So I hope that if you need any extra information from this, there is a copy of the outline or just one copy in the binder that's on the back over here by the door. You can look at that. Also, you can have the substitute put this up. Again, I have a copy of the outline format. But ultimately, you're going to be doing an assignment that helps you understand the formatting and piecing it all together. Okay? So, good luck, and I hope that you are behaving.